Karibu tena, unaendelea kutazama Citizen Town Hall ambapo tunazungumzia mtaala mpya ambao umekuwa ukiibua masuala mbalimbali, wengi wakihisi kuwa hawajafahamishwa ipasavyo kuhusiana na mtaala huu. Na nitampatia tu fursa mtu mmoja hapa aweze kuuliza swali lake. Simama Ferdinand. Swali lako ndipi?
Okay, swali langu ni kama Nairobi walimu hawajafafanua hii system mpya yenye imekuja, je, walimu wa mashinani wanafanyaje?
Na kuna mwingine John Odhiambo hapa ana swali lingine. Simama John, utaangalia upande tafadhali.
My question is just simple. Why is government rushing? Why can't we just have a proper mechanism? We go step by step. Because swali langu lingine ni je, likianguka mbona tunaharakisha na inaweza nini? Isipofaulu tutafanya nini? Tutarudi kwa nyingine.
Je, serikali inaharakisha mtaala huu mpya? Joseph naye ana swali lake.
Kwa majina ni Joseph Jonge, a master student at Kenyatta University, currently a hawker at Mudhuro Market. My question is, what assurance is there that after the kids have gone through the new curriculum, they will not end up in the market flooded and disappointed like we are right now?
Thank you. Nadhani hilo ni swali linaweza kujibiwa sasa hivi.
Yeah, and Dr. Wandi, I'd like to start with you before we get into the several questions that have been asked here. How would you have wanted this to have been rolled out, given the opportunity now? Now we are here now. How would you have wanted it to play out as a professional?
This is what I said 2 years ago.
Yes.
Let's spend the next 5 years trying to see how we can introduce equity in the system, so that we have more children with more access to equipment, to labs, to classrooms, and to materials. I was also suggesting that the counties could boost the education system by building libraries, for example, so that not every school has to have exactly the same number of books, but schools can find ways to share materials. Let's build the infrastructure and the equipment and get the teachers for the next 5 years and then roll out the curriculum. But you see, curriculum, and this is what I've said before, we are changing the curriculum because it's easy, it's quick, and you get quick wins as politicians and as government. But I'm telling you Kenyans, please, we cannot keep on doing quick wins all the time. Education is a 20-year enterprise, so we cannot expect to have a curriculum rolled out in a month or in a year and expect everything to go well. More work should have been done, more awareness should have been done before rolling out the curriculum, so that you do a dry run. And then when teachers start, they know where to ask questions, they know where to send data, they know where to do all these things. So that was what I would have liked to see. Okay. But the reason why it was not done is because there's no quick win. There's no ribbon to cut, there's no foundation stone to lay, and there's nothing to say in the political campaign material.
So you think this is just political mileage?
It's not just political, but it's being pushed politically, because usually curriculums should not be dependent on a regime. Okay. It should be something that we are discussing, and presidents can come and go, but we are still talking about the same thing. But now we've had a shock to the system, and we are going to spend the next 5 years getting used to the shock, making people adjust and get frustrated, and then TSC will come with TPAD and interdictions. Already they've started doing it, which is what I predicted. We are going to have to force teachers and bulldoze them to do this curriculum when we should have taken 5 years to sensitize people and show them what is happening, and including us. I was telling my students, I went to the 763 system. I am teaching 844 students, and now they are going to teach a new system. What country is this where we change curriculums every 20 years? Okay. There are no countries that do that. They do modify the curriculum, but to change and replace systems so drastically, it's shocking the system, and that's why I am not sure that this was not more politically driven than anything else.
Mudhoni, you want to react to this? What is wrong with what she's suggesting? Take 5 years, build the infrastructure, public participation.
A little bit of some alarmist statements there, and this is not for political expediency. Those of us who've been in the policy circles for quite some time will tell you this has not begun with Honorable His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. We began long time ago, the discussions. And that is why I'm saying, much as a lot of the time we place the responsibility on government, I think I'm now beginning to call on some of these institutions that are always called at the policy table by the Ministry of Education anytime that the ministry wants to do something. And I want to ask them today, after that meeting, who do you talk to? Because I know the institutions have been talked to by the government. We began way back after the promulgation of the Constitution, the year 2010. Yeah. That is when these discussions began. There is no day KNUT has never been on the table. There is no day KUPPET has never been on the table. There is no day Kenya Heads, Secondary School Heads Association, Primary School Heads Association, the private sector, the publishers, Parents Association, Elimu Yetu Coalition, and the civil society, all of them have been on the table. So the question is, and this is what I would like government to ask these institutions, are you briefcase institutions so that you appear on the meeting, after that meeting, you don't even bother to inform your members, so that some of these discourses could be coming from the ground? Because I will tell you honestly, because I have been part, and it is bad to lie. The ministry has consulted these institutions. And I want to challenge the Kenya National Union of Teachers. And one day, you will allow us to come with the registers for the number of meetings that the ministry has called and consulted. So the challenge will be for us to check, when you are consulted, do you cascade that to your members, so that we hear some of your members say, we are not aware. For example, the ministry cannot deal with every teacher. It is hard, but it will deal with the institutions that are there. For example, there is the Kenya National Union of Teachers, KUPPET, there is the heads, and so on. And that the same happens to the parents. It would be probably difficult for government to say, we have consulted all parents, but the government will do so with the structures of the individual institutions that have been set up in place. So let us say that at times also ourselves, maybe we have not done this process justice, and we always like saying the government has done. Just like I will not expect to make laws, but I have a legislator in parliament who, on my behalf, I will expect them to make laws. So that when laws are not made, I will not be telling the president, but I will be asking my representative. And therefore, I believe the respective teachers, probably, they have a discussion to do with the leadership of their unions. The parents maybe have a discussion with the organization and things like those.
All right. Dr. Juan, I'll come to you in just a bit. But there's also an issue of how will you ensure that these current learners don't just flood the market and stay there?
Yeah, that is, let me start from there. But I wanted to start, the current learners will not flood the market because we are providing opportunities. If you are a comedian, like now, a lot of our comedians, they have become celebrities. Tell me the opportunity that they were given within the school to engage in comedy as a profession. At the time when you are blocking our comedians, I was reading a study where in the UK, they were modifying examination for DJing. Tell me which school in Kenya will allow you to train as a DJ. They will say you are wasting their talent. It's like that advert that I see where some young man calls the mother and says, I want to become a DJ. Is it a DJ? And then the mother almost throws the phone down. It's because we have not oriented ourselves to appreciate that you can do anything. You can become a DJ and earn a living, and a decent living. You can become a comedian. That is the opportunity that we are providing in this system. And that is why it will not be wasted. Now, let me go back to curriculum. Curriculum is as political as it can be technical across the world. Read literature on curriculum. However, the politics that we see in curriculum is not that now I'm using this curriculum because I want to come back to power. President Uhuru Kenyatta probably will not be contesting again. So why is he pushing this curriculum? What vote does he want in 2022? Now, in 2000, the Ticket Koech report made recommendations to revise our curriculum. President Uhuru was not working then. The Odhiambo report The Odhiambo Commission that went throughout this country and collected views from Kenyans. 2012, President Uhuru was not the president then. So what I'm trying to say, the reform that we are implementing now has had several studies that have made several recommendations that have been left hanging. And that is why we felt we don't need another commission to go collecting views and collecting, using Kenyans' money, yet we have had so many that we have not implemented that are critical for this country.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Just have to say this because I'm in the arts, so let's when people talk about the arts, I start getting nervous. Talent is not the same as arts. Talent is something that you're born with. Arts is a skill that you are trained after a few years so that you work on your talent. In fact, talent is just 1% of the arts. The rest is skill, work, history, mentorship, all these other things.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure whether the ministry knows that every education CS who has been coming, they badmouth the arts. We have been called useless. We have been told that we are not training anything. So now, we are not training enough arts teachers, but suddenly KICD wants arts teachers. I don't know where you're going to get those teachers from. And then, oh dear, the being a DJ does not need to be endorsed by KICD for it to happen. DJs are already being trained. It doesn't need to be included in the curriculum, because if you have a curriculum where you allow students to explore their talent, when they go out there, they don't need to come to KICD to know that to be a DJ has potential. They will do it themselves. All the DJs who are in Kenya, none of them went, at least most of them did not go to a DJ school. Does that mean they are less of DJs? And if Ministry of Education, if you came to my department, you would see we are already teaching some of these things. Okay. We didn't need KICD to force it into the curriculum and then use it as a way of saying those who fail have something else to do. That's not right. We need to make the education system
all
equitable.
The panelists disagree.
And lastly, my friend,
let her finish.
There were so many oppositions to the Odhiambo report. Even Mutula Kilonzo opposed that report. Nat opposed that report in 2012. Please check the news. It's there. I looked it up. They did not agree with the Odhiambo report. So if we are using that to push this curriculum, we are not being historically accurate.
Okay, let's take quick reactions.
Let me just clarify something.
Yeah, but Maya hasn't spoken in a while. We'll make it very brief. Very brief. Yeah.
Let us take away from us this concept of fail. That is the ideology of the current system that we are running away from. Okay. What do you fail from? In fact, in many systems, learners don't fail. It is the system that fails learners because we don't give them an opportunity in what they can do. Okay. So first of all, let's remove this failure from our system.
Okay.
Because when you tell a child who is 14 years, who has just finished standard 8 that they have failed, what do they know? What have they failed?
Okay.
Really?
Mayo, you wanted to jump into this.
As a parent, if you have two children and the two are sitting for exams, one gets an A- and another one gets an E. As a parent, naturally, you'll be more concerned of this child who has gotten an E. And you'll be asking so many questions. Why did my child fail?
Yeah.
Did he deserve to fail? Now that we found out that it was not my child who deserves to fail, it was the system. That is why parents, we are now supporting the new CBC, because it will not fail our children. Okay. Because as a parent, we invest so much. When the child is in baby class to standard 8, the confusion that is all over in the public place is caused by NAT. And it's on record that NAT has been criticizing every new curriculum, even 844. They say 844 is overloaded. 844 is too academic. Now they are coming in to criticize the CBC. So tumezoea hawa ni kazi yao ku criticize.
All right, Modoni,
Yeah.
you wanted to jump in before I go to Mashirima?
No, yeah, I think what we need to ask ourselves is, where is the opposition coming from on the CBC? Where is the dissenting view?
Yeah.
And we can almost point at it. And this is what we are saying, that really it was agreed across board. And I would like to correct a few of the things that she passed as facts, which is not factual. Mutula did not oppose. In fact, he is the person that oversaw the first national conference on overhauling the curriculum. I was present, I was there in that meeting. So there are some people who are walking around causing panic, the whole country. And we can name the stakeholders.
Okay.
If all the stakeholders have got no problem, apart from one stakeholder, then there is a question that we need to ask ourselves.
All right.
And we need to screen even for conflict of interest.
Yeah.
We really need to know, where are you coming from? And anyway, have there been any fundamental issues about the CBC that have been raised? And the answer is no. Because I remember the first time, the thing was we were not consulted. I think that is what I heard Sosion say in one of the forums. We were not consulted. And then we asked him, my friend, we have seen you in literally every forum that KICD and the ministry have called. So how else did you want to be consulted?
No, that is not necessarily true, because the biggest issue was always infrastructure, and you admitted that there are gaps that we have. There's also the teachers' training. You admitted those are gaps that we have.
Yes.
So there are fundamental issues that have been raised about CBC.
The infrastructure issue, for sure, is a challenge, and we said it is not a bad challenge.
Okay.
Because why are we having a challenge with, for example, if you walk to a school and you have 100 children? Why can't we even see the positive?
Okay.
That we are happy the children are in school and they are not at home. Had we rather they were home?
Okay.
We would rather they are in school, and let's try and see how do we now create room for everybody else. I think that is really not a bad problem.
Also briefly, there was a question that was asked, will parents be doing homework? Very briefly.
Say again?
Will parents be doing homework now? There was a question on social media, very briefly.
And that is why we said, I think the best takeaway from here, and I'm happy Dr. Juan is here, that there is a lot of misinformation out there. There is no way parents will be doing homework as the children really watch cartoons. and therefore, he has a lot to do in terms of letting people know what are the... Let us separate the truths from the half-truths that are being said. And let us interrogate. Anytime somebody holds a microphone on national television and they tell you issues, let us try and interrogate. Where are they coming from? And what is their interest? And have they been consistent in what they are saying? Because it's also important so that we don't end up confusing the public.
All right, let's bring in more people. Mashirima, kuna maswali bado?
Na maswali yako mengi bado. Nataka tukumpatia nafasi Profesa Humphrey Obora, manake kuna swala ambalo limekuwa likitajwa sana sana kutoka kwa wageni wetu hapo mbele kuhusiana na kukuza talanta haswa kwa wanafunzi. Simama tafadhali Profesa. Swali lako.
Do I look this way? Right. Any parent in this meeting here today, I need to tell you that if your child is sick in the night, your child is having fever, the first thing on your mind will be, which medicine do I always know, or which one did my grandmother use? So you take that shortcut, maybe to the chemist to buy the medicine you know, and then you know that you're treating malaria. When it doesn't work after 3 or 4 days is when you remember to go to hospital. By the time you reach the hospital, you have been using medicine because of a symptom looking like malaria, and finally you treat the wrong thing. Talent is not what you're discussing here. Every human has a talent, and they are measured in a unit known as genus, 142 genus in every human. What differs from human to human is the giftedness, the conglomeration of those talents. Talent has something to do with education. In fact, I'll tell you, the byproducts of talent, you are only a consumer. So you should not continuously mix. Every time I go to many forums, I am told that in Kenya, we think like talent is something to do with education. It's completely nothing. Dr. Joan, I have a small question for you. We've met before in many forums. You're my friend. Tell me something. When we construct new curriculum, there are 3 fundamental things that we need to look at. 1, is it simple? Is it so simple that that chairman of Parents Association can take it to Tana River and that parent will quickly understand? Is it cheap? Because we are in a developing country. You cannot bring a system that a basic person in Marsabit will not be able to afford. Finally, will you be reaping big out of it? I hear people say, we shall have job creators. It is only in education, Mashirima. Even in the United States, where our headquarters is, we have got this thing here that people give you the story, oh, it worked in Finland, it worked in Germany, it worked there. Go work your metrics very clearly. Don't use examples that are not relevant to your situation here in Kenya. Is it a must that you must copy something that Jeb Bush brought in America and think that is going to work in Tana River? If you are right, swear by the Bible that should it fail, we can hold you accountable. Sign it.
Dr. Juan, is it cheap? Is it simple?
Is it simple? Is it cheap? Are you going to read big?
Thank you very much. I like the fact that Prof is saying we don't just keep talking about these other countries that are up there. 2 things. 1, and that is why I carried this book. This is the East African Treaty. Chapter 16 of this book indicates that after long research by the East African communities, they agreed that they are going to harmonize their curriculum. You can check chapter 16. They went ahead and they developed a framework. In fact, 2 years ago, they were hosting the conference in Nairobi, where each country came to account for how far they have gone implementing CBC. Why were they doing that? They were doing that because they want to enhance the free movement of learners and free movement of labor towards the integration of the East African community. Now, as I talk to you now, I'm sure you're aware that Rwanda rolled out CBT 2 years ago. South Sudan rolled out CBC 1 year ago. Uganda, in primary, they already rolled out, they're working on secondary. Last year, World Bank presented a report in Kenya on learning outcomes across the world. Do you know what they told us? As a country, we will be making a mistake if we compare ourselves with other countries in the region, because our potential, our economy, and the way that we think is much higher. We should look far beyond, because others will copy us. As I talk to you now, last week, South Africa had people from the Ministry of Education coming to check what we are doing. 2 months ago, Nigerians were here. 1 month ago, MPs from Uganda Parliamentary Committee on Education came to see our framework. I want you to carry this, for those of you who read. This was done by UNESCO last year. I'll read it, then I give it to you. Comparative analysis of national curriculum framework for 5 countries: Brazil, Cambodia, Finland, Kenya, and Peru. I can give you this. Giving this to
the geometrics are not the same. That's what Professor was raising there. He will take it later on. It's
yes,
okay.
You can go and
but
read
this.
But
saying that you cannot compare them with us because they have different dynamics.
Yes, and that is why I mentioned Uganda, I mentioned South Sudan, and I mentioned the countries that are coming to check with us. That means when you're looking at curriculum, you look at 3 things. Okay. The local context, what are our demands as a country? The regional context, what are the dynamics in the region? The global context, because we cannot be in isolation. Thank you.
All right. Mashirima?
Naam, tukisalia na hilo swala kuhusiana na pesa. Tuko na Emmanuel Mubolwe. Emmanuel Mubolwe yuko wapi?
kwa nyumba yako pale.
Aha, huyu hapa. Soma tafadhali.
Okay. Asante mwashirima. Kwa majina ni Emmanuel Mkolwe, na wajua mara mingi sana unapata iweje kwanza utoke kwenye mafuta ambayo yanajikaanga kisha ujiangushe kwenye moto ndani. Nasema hivi yani, serikali yetu nadhani ni wakati mgumu kwa sasa, kwa sababu ukiangalia watoza ushuru kwanza, this is going to be a burden unto them. That is one. Two, ukiangalia kuna yale maeneo ambayo yametengwa, we call them marginalized areas. Na I think mwalimu juzi umeona ile picha ambayo imekuwa ikienea mtandaoni ya shule ambayo wanafunzi hawana hata madarasa. Sasa iweje hizi hela zote tuzieke pale, na ilhali sisi wenyewe hatujafikia vile viwango ambavyo hata wanafunzi wetu hatuwezi wasitiri shuleni. Kama hatuwezi wasitiri shuleni, iweje tawasitiri na curriculum hii ambayo hata wao wenyewe pia huenda ikawa ngumu kwa wao.
Okay.
Asante.
Daktari Juan, labda unaweza kujibu hilo swali kwanza.
Yeah, why not channel the resources for CBC on developing infrastructure to keep it simple?
Incidentally, to keep it simple, the government has not increased the allocation that is given to the Ministry of Education because of CBC. All we are doing is rationalizing what we have. I'll give you an example. Before, when the government used to send money to schools to go and buy books, now the same books were being bought in Rwanda and Uganda because it's the same publishers at half the price. When we decided to tell them to quote for us and take up to the school, books that used to be bought at 21 billion were now being bought at 7.5 billion. We saved 13.8 billion. I mean, that is in the open. Now, so the question of resources will not increase because of CBC. TSC will continue recruiting the number of teachers that they will be recruiting before as it is now. What should happen, and I do agree with you to a large extent, is for us to rationalize what we have and come together as a country. Let, for example, the MPs, if it is in your region and you have CDF, you put in the schools. If you are a county government, you put in the CD schools, and everybody else comes together to support the process. But we cannot stop it because we are going to put money there, because which one is worse? Ignorance and wasting so many young people. And what are we going to do with them in the future? Every time we read, we are going to have a youth explosion. Which one is worse? Struggling to invest to give them an opportunity, or leaving them to become something else?
All right. Mashirima, kidogo kuna swali hapa. Felista Ndinda kwenye mtandao anasema this CBC is converting the parents to learners because we find ourselves doing homework, and this is very serious. I have a daughter in grade 1, so I'm talking from experience. And Mudoni, you said there's no homework, but she's saying she's doing homework.
Let me talk about parental involvement.
Yeah.
Because that was the biggest critique on the 844, where as parents we only interacted with the performance of our children at the max level. Whether you have passed, I congratulate you. Whether if you have failed, I quarrel you. But now this is a situation where the parent has a place, so that you interact with your child in the process of doing homework, so that it also gives you an opportunity to appreciate what the child is going through, how best you can be able to support your child. And that is why you almost, and I had someone else there, and now hearing the second learner, it tells me that the CBC has elicited something in terms of the parental, involvement. I don't want to encourage the parents to take it positively, because ultimately it will have a very good influence on your child. That 5 minutes, 10 minutes you're sitting with your child doing homework, it will be of very great help to you in understanding your child, and also in nurturing the relationship between you and your child in relation to the education of your child, which is very important.
Dr. Wande, isn't this the inequality you're talking about? What about the parents who stay out there up until late? So at what point am I going to interact with my child? If I leave the house at 5 a.m., come back at 10 a.m., the child has to wake up in the morning. How do we deal with it?
The parents must create time, whether you're busy or not
in
busy.
In this current economy, Dr. Wande?
You have to.
Gosh, I'm wondering whether I should. Anyway.
Just say it.
I raised questions about the parental involvement, and I said, what happens to parents who are illiterate, who are poor? What happens to children who are orphans? Who does their homework for them? So this is not just about a nice time for parents to be with children. It's about importing the inequalities between my generation, the parents' generation. We are importing those inequalities into the system. So that means that children who do not have parents, who are orphaned, whose parents are poor, whose parents don't have the resources, are going to be disadvantaged compared to the middle-class Kenyans who are educated and can help their children with the homework. But let me also say why, and please, you should know that these are legitimate concerns. Parents are talking from experience. What the back end, and this is what bores Kenyans, sorry to say, Kenyans are bored by the back end of education. So let me tell you what has been done with this curriculum. You see, when you put, when with the CBC, you need a lot of data. You need to prove everything you do with the children, you have to prove that you did it. So that's why I was saying about a year ago, there will be more testing. So what is happening, I suspect, is that because teachers are going to be appraised by their implementation of the CBC, they have to produce data. You cannot produce portfolios for 60 students. So what you do, you give the students the homework to go and do it with their parents and bring the portfolios, so that when Nancy Macharia comes with her TPAD, or when Magoha comes to see what you're doing, you have enough material to prove that you are teaching. So this is the back end, which most Kenyans don't want to hear, and which is understandable because you're the parents. You just want to know, is my child going to do well? But for us teachers, that is what this new system is doing. It's demanding more paperwork from teachers. And what is going to happen already when we have TPAD is that now, and I said this again, teachers are going to have to cook data to prove that there was teaching going on in the classroom.
Dr. Juan, very briefly.
I just wanted to say something about parents, and I think we have to change, ladies and gentlemen. Parental empowerment and engagement in the learning of their children is critical. Whether you are, and when we talk of parental here, we don't need a biological parent. You can be a guardian, you can be a relative, you can be anything. What we need to think is that when we talk of that assignment, it is not necessarily that you're going to read technical books and start answering questions. Like I've seen learners going home and taking something to sweep in the kitchen and telling the mother or the father, today I was supposed to help you clean the kitchen. That is the kind of assignment we are talking about in grade 1. Sometimes I saw one pulling the parent to go and look at the moon and discuss a few things about the moon. So when we talk about parental empowerment, and I think we have to move away from this. I remember the time when we closed schools because we were going to sit exams. Parents went to the TV and said, what are we going to do with our children for 2 months? Honestly, we are the parents. We must take responsibility to understand our children. So I know it is heavy on the parents. Let them not complain. These are their children. It must be co-learning and co-parenting.
You're talking about middle-class children in Nairobi. In the rural areas, children have work to do. They are going to the shambas with their parents, they are herding cattle, there are other things that they are doing. What you're talking about is middle-class parents who do not have a shamba outside, so that's why the TV becomes the entertainer of the children. And this is why I was saying that this curriculum needed a sociological analysis. What does this curriculum mean for middle-class parents in Nairobi, poor parents in Kibera, middle-class parents maybe in the towns outside Nairobi, and also the poor parents, the farmers, because everybody has a way of raising their child. But now the government is reaching out into families and saying that this is how you're going to raise your child.
Muthoni, I see you shaking your head on this.
That's not right. And just before she speaks, let me remind her I'm not here for Sosion. I'm here as a teacher myself. I'm a lecturer in the arts. And the reason why I got involved in this whole issue is because I got tired of hearing Ministry of Education officials talking so badly about us. And now they're saying flowers about us. but they are not really respecting the arts as something that you get trained in. They are calling it talent and saying that those kids who are poor, who cannot pass in science because they have no resources, they are talented.
Hold that thought there. Mashirima una maswali sio.
Na Maina kutoka Nairobi anaonekana kama kwa upande mmoja nakubaliana na Daktari Wandia, upande mwingine nakubaliana na Daktari Juan. Anasema Mashirima, I have just finished drawing a lorry with my daughter. That was her homework.
Yeah.
Anasema hii ni noma. Lakini pia anasema ana miaka 5 na somehow hii ni stress. She has to be up by 5 a.m. It is 11 p.m. Kama amemaliza saa hizi, huyu mtoto anapumzika saa ngapi?
Bas, Mudhoni, you can come into that, and that's exactly what we were talking about.
It was worse in the former system.
We are here now. If you have children, then it means you have to go and do the homework. That lesson has just finished drawing a lorry now, and the child is waking up at 5 a.m.
It was worse in 844. It was worse.
How is it?
I mean, it was worse in 844. You'd find that a child carries academic work, leave alone drawing. I'm happy that it was drawing. In every subject. I mean, we have been parents. You do maths, you finish. You move to English. You move to sciences. So better now it is drawing. That is something. And I want to talk about my colleague here. When we talk about talent, we are not necessarily just talking about the arts. Talent is required in every learning area.
Okay.
So, but I'm happy she's saying that now for once, we are appreciating all the learning areas, including her arts, which is just as important as any other. I think what I can tell Kenyans is one, this is good for the country. We don't mind critique. There's a difference between critique and criticism. Let everybody bring their views on board. The process is still ongoing, and whatever needs to be improved, let's improve it, but let's not throw away the baby with the bucket.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very briefly, yes.
I needed to say, in the experience shared by the parents of drawing the lorry, I am happy it's late and they're drawing the lorry with the daughter or the son.
The daughter has to wake up at 5 a.m.
Yes, even because she would have done some homework even without the interaction of the father. You know, I want us to concentrate on the parental engagement. This engagement where a daughter is sitting down with a dad to draw, it's phenomenal, let me tell you. And it is what we have complained that it has been lacking. There has been no parental engagement. And then we meet on TV and we discuss how children are depressed, parents don't understand their children. That is why we have all these suicides. That is why we have, we meet and lament. But when the minister, and we say, I have been there, that the problem is our education system. Then when the education system comes in and looks at how, in a very small way, we can bring in the parent.
Okay.
Then we are now saying, no, the parent is too busy. They're supposed to be working. How do we want to be helped as Kenyans?
Yes. Mayo kidogo anataka kuzungumza kidogo dakika moja.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy about the reports we are getting from parents on engagement. What I would say is going forward, as a parent association, because this is a new association, in fact I'm the first chair, we will ask our members who are the parents to make an annual subscription of 50 shillings.
Okay.
So that we will have many programs on sensitizing our parents on issues emerging, on any obligations that we are supposed to do, or issues pertaining to parental, because parenting is changing every now and then.
Okay.
So I will call upon all the members, all the parents of this country, don't listen to the confusion that is happening around.
All right.
You care about your child.
All right. Kidogo, we are running out of time here, but Mashirima, sijui kama unaweza uliza maswali kama 2 hivi tufunge.
Naam, swali la kwanza, Otoa Sifuna, kuhusiana na vitabu vile ambavyo tumekuwa tukiona vinasambazwa kwenye shule. Otoa.
Okay. Okay. My name is Otoa Sifuna. Maybe just a quick one on parental, Mashirima.
Please stick to the question on books, please.
Yes. That's where I was going to. We have realized, Dr. Juan, and I'm not sugarcoating, is it true that some publishers were single-sourced and they are actually supplying books to school. That is why some union, let me say Kenya National Union of Teachers has a problem with it. And just a joke on the parents, there's a parent who did the assignment with, of the child and got a 0. So maybe Mr. Mayo should comment on that.
Very good one.
Labda kuna kauli moja ya mwisho kabla halijajibiwa hilo swali kuhusiana na vitabu ambavyo vimekuwa vipelekwa kwenye shule. Matthew, simama tafadhali, nitakushikia.
My name is Matthew Rotich. Mine is just a comment. They say if you want to hide something successfully from an African, hide it in a book. They say if you want to hide something successfully from an African, hide it in a book. I would wish that parents will read the paper, the CBC, the paper on CBC, because not reading the constitution in the promulgation in 2010 is what brought us this new constitution, which we are going to be told to amend soon. Okay, so I'll wish the government to invest in civic education so that people are able to be taught about the CBC so that we don't repeat the same mistakes over and over again.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Na kuna swali hapa ambalo lilikuwa limeulizwa kuhusiana na vitabu mbali na lile ambalo limeulizwa na Otoa kuhusiana na vitabu ambavyo vimekuwa vikionekana vina makosa. Ni hatua gani imechukuliwa?
Thank you. 2 questions. One, it is
Very
illegal
brief.
to single source.
Very briefly, yeah.
So the question of single sourcing, that one is in the public domain. The books like now are being supplied by about 8 or 7 different publishers.
Yeah.
If you single source, we would be in committee today.
Okay.
So that is, that is not true.
That is answered.
Now, let me talk about the mistakes in the books. And there appeared so many. If anybody could pick any of those books and tell me this one has been approved by KICD, I will say hallelujah, because we saw so many books that were being shown around. One was published in Ghana, one was published in Egypt, one was from the US. I don't know why they were being shown on social media. And we told anybody, if anybody sees any book that has those mistakes and is approved by KICD, please bring it. I even went to a shop in River Road where one of the books was being shown. I sent somebody who bought me one book. When we went to buy more copies, we were told the books were finished. They had never been approved by KICD. In fact, there are many unscrupulous traders who go to schools and tell the schools, this book is wonderful for revision. If you buy it at this, I will give you this. You will find a lot of books in schools that are not approved by KICD.
Okay.
Any book that is approved by KICD with the mistakes. There was one book which had helicopter flying and learners celebrating and all that. Technically, that book was good. But politically, it raised a bit of issues and on politics.
Dr. Juan, we are running out of time.
We
Yes,
agreed
I have
that
to
it
cut
be
you
changed.
short. I
But
apologize for
technically,
that. I apologize for that. But I want to start with Mudoni. Final remarks, 2 lines each. Then as we wind up, we've really run out of time here. Just final thoughts.
No, I really want to say that
2 lines.
the political commitment
Yes.
that is being said, it is not bad.
All right.
And I want to say that education is a big winner. Having this kind of political goodwill is what we have always campaigned for, especially coming from the civil society.
All right.
And we really want to thank the government for supporting the education center to do things which we only yearned to do, and things which they've remained as recommendations. But that we are here, we urge Kenyans to have goodwill and to support and to know that there are so many experts that have gone through this, and for sure it's a good idea for our children.
Good place to leave it. Mayo, 2 lines.
Yeah, first I would say that as parents of this country, we will fully support the new curriculum, which is CBC.
Okay.
What we are asking the government to provide is materials to equip us with infrastructure and give us enough teachers.
Okay. Dr. Wandia, very briefly.
Let me just tell Kenyans that this has been a very narrow conversation. The issues about this curriculum are so much wider, and in the 21st century, we should not be talking just about implementation. But follow me on Twitter and then I can answer more.
Dr. Juan, final
what
remarks.
I want to tell Kenyans is that this curriculum theoretically, philosophically, has been well researched across the world.
Okay.
I want to encourage Kenyans to support it. We will have challenges like any other curriculum. Give us your views and let's come together to provide opportunities for our children.
All right.
Thank you.
And that's where we wrap it up, but I want to read some of your views here. Aliwa says, it is great that the new curriculum supports the creatives, but what is the exit plan when the art industry in the country is not supported? So a grade 3 is being told to be an actor. And we have Edward Kayemba who says, if a kid comes home with a question demanding a picture being downloaded from the internet, what's the parent deepest corners of marginalized Kenya going to do? All right, and we have Voski who says, from a layman's point of view, this is not even politics. Having the curriculum reviewed is good, just like having a good railway system. And we have Winnie Owoko who says, we are ready, but we need to understand it more. Agnes Munderi says, please tell Mudhoni that some of us work in hospitals, and for that matter, we are on night duty. So do we stop going to work and create time for the children? Mashirima.
George Njombai naye anasema, I have just finished taking pictures of wild animals and domestic animals for my son. I'm enjoying it as it's a good time for conversation and catching up for all of us at the end of a busy day. Lakini Maina naye hata kama anaunga mkono amerejea tena. Anasema basi wale ambao wanahusika na huu mtaala wanafaa kuhakikisha pia wanapunguza ule muda ambao wanafunzi wako shuleni. Iwe saa 4 tu, kuanzia saa 4 hadi saa 8. Nadhani hilo litakuwa swala lizuri sana. Naitwa Mashirima Kapombe, usiku mwema.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Monday Report Town Hall session. My name is Trevor Mbijen. Like Dr. Wandia said, we've just scratched the surface. We'll still have a lot of conversation around this new curriculum. Keep the comments coming at Citizen TV Kenya. I'm sure we're having the same discussion again on Daybreak tomorrow with a different panel. Tune in as well, because we keep talking about these issues until the time when we get a solution. Good night for now, and thank you so much to the audience and everyone else who contributed.